Okay, see what I'm doing? Just making a rectangle right now based on the dimensions that I need. It's not a perfect rectangle, it's just a rectangle. It's as long as I need and as wide as I need. And now because it's a flap, I'm going to cut the corners off. So that it looks like an arc. I'll start at the top and just round it off. Now if I fold this in half, I know it won't be exact, but it looks pretty close. And that's going to be your flap. Doing several steps at home, you've covered your cake and you have to go do something for a few hours. Put it in the refrigerator. When you come home to do this next step and take it out, it's actually going to get a little bit sticky just from coming out of the refrigerator, and you won't have to brush any water on it. So if you're doing this in stages, then that would be the way to do it. So you're going to brush some on top, some on the sides. Okay? And on the back side, the fondant is going to hang over about 1 inch. And these are pretty small pieces that hopefully you should be able to handle it with your hands pretty well. So you'll start with the back. See if I can do that towards you. Set it in place, and again, it is just the back. So you're actually going to be more worried about how that flap hangs in the front. Let it come over the top, and then just let it drop in the front. And then again, you're just going to smooth it into place. It has a little bit of water there, so it'll stick right on there. And that's your flap. Okay? So again, you're going to do a rectangle. You're going to take a ruler, kind of figure out how wide and how long it needs to be. And you can do that once you have your white rolled out, so it's kind of fresh in your head, or if you have something to write with, write down those dimensions on the cake and just let your imagination run wild at this point. So what I'm doing is taking the fondant and rolling it into a rope. And then from there, I'm just going to roll it long. And for my cake, I need about 16 inches. Most of you may need it to be a little longer, but if it isn't long enough, we can do it in a couple pieces and still, you know, kind of budget and make it work. And we're very gently rolling it into a rope because, again, you don't want it to stick to the table. And you don't need it to be very thick. Okay? Now, this is where it gets a little tricky because you're never going to have it exactly as wide or as even as you want it to be. So this is where the ruler is going to come into play. And again, you're going to make a straight side. So you're going to put your ruler against it, make a straight side. And because this is trim on the purse, you're going to want it to be a little bit thinner. Maybe about ½ an inch. Which you can usually eyeball with your ruler, so whatever is an appropriate thickness for you. But about about a quarter to ½ an inch, maybe a third of an inch. It's where you want it to be. And you're going to square that off, and that way you have a perfect parallel piece for your trim. Okay, now how are you going to get this long piece on the cake without stretching it or breaking it or anything? You're going to need to roll it up. So you take the end, carefully tuck it over, and gently roll this up into a snail or bubble tape. Okay, and this is going to help you guide it onto wherever you need, around the bottom edge of the cake, around your trim, wherever you want it to be. This is going to be the trim for me. So I'll get my cake. And again, you're going to put a small amount of water on the fondant. And you're just going to brush it around the edge of your trim. Then you're going to take the end, put it on the back, and carefully, slowly, roll along the edge in place. And the moisture on the fondant will allow you to sort of shift it around a little bit. If it isn't falling exactly in place, you can do that with your fingers. And when you get to the end, just trim off whatever is extra with your paring knife. Okay. Really thin. And again, put water on your cake and just press them on the corners. Another great tool I just found the other day that everyone should have. And if you take your fondant and roll it out thin into a plate and then roll this in a straight line, you'll have about 10 little lines that you can do anything with. You can put stripes all over your purse. You can do the edging on the corners here if you don't want something as bulky as a rope. You can make confetti, put all over your cake. So this is a fun tool to make those kind of edgings with. So you're welcome to use that. So I have the dust in here. I'm just going to add a little bit of gold to it, or of alcohol to the gold, so it makes a little bit of a paste. And I'm making this, and you guys can just work from here. And then you'll just get a little paintbrush and paint your rings. Now if you're working on the handle, you're probably going to want it thicker. Okay. So that you can control where it lays and it'll have a more natural look to it. Okay, so then I have some gold dust and you're just going to paint your ring.
Look at that.
Put a little bling on there. And of course try and be careful with your brushing so that you get most of the ring painted and not your leather painted, like I'm doing here. Okay.
Can you paint the ring before you put it on?
You could. You could paint the ring before you put that on.
You have to let it dry, right?
No. No, because again the alcohol will evaporate fairly quickly.
Okay.
So you don't need to worry about it drying or anything like that. We're actually painting this this metal on before we put the handle on, so there is another piece that's going to go over this metallic ring.